Well, it's our stuff that's in charge now, so I threw, but I didn't pay yet. I mean, I'm going to get fucking tanked here in a minute if I don't do something like this. I'll see if I can do it again. There's the Margot line or something like that in World War II. This was before. This was when I think before Germany invaded Paris. They went to the Sudetenland, right? Or is that on the other side? I can't fucking remember. There's some sort of line that the British, whenever they came through with the French, stopped at because they were holding me hostage. See, that's what people can't forgive me for. Which kind of sucks. But that's what I live with. And that's a really invalid way of saying that, but it's kind of one of those. I'll just go ahead and say it. It was kicking around. Okay, basically, there's two. I want to look at myself. There's two where I'm supposed to be. One of them is the ultimate absolute ruler, potentate. How do you say it? Potentate. Of essentially everything, which is true, and I have access to that. But speaking of that, there's in similar the Margot line, a line in basically French socialism, which is totally Judaic at this point because it's not Bundism. I fixed that. I gave some oomph for that. My speed, my blood, my chalk sort of thing. Where it's, you don't mind, you're not mad about, rather, what I did to reality. And then kind of in the same echelon of, you never quite get to the now, but you get closer than you'll ever be again sort of thing. You never quite get there. That's Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. Neil Cassidy. The sledgehammer. Throw a sledgehammer. Anyway, you end up not being mad about it, and then this is essentially the greatest problem that mankind's ever faced. And so if you hold that, then your quality of heart can grow kind of indeterminate or separate from kind of the persuasions of the day. And that would be, in the sense, the making of the man, the quality of the will, so to speak, such that it's not misinformed. Thing is, Nietzsche hit that, but I don't really know. The Germans are kind of heady. They talk about head things rather than heart things. By the time it gets to Catholicism, they buy into Nietzsche in almost a non-Judaic sort of way, such that it's not even a fucking equation. Like, they avoid that and then so thus achieve will, but it's like the baby version of something else. Because there's a different discipline dealing with, which ended up running out, because the heart, in a sense, is not separate from the will. And then whenever you get to the point of, in Britain, the heart being separate from the will, because they do things like, it's all lies, but consciousness is contained within awareness sort of thing. Like, if you don't have, and they did a whole bunch of stupid shit to kind of fly under the radar that they ended up getting fucking screwed on by me. That's all done and kicked. Okay, let's see if I can do it. with my one supposed to be. Because the thing is that God's a woman sort of thing. It has to progress going that way. By the time that you get to that, whenever I'm recognized as something, it's as if I jumped the line, but I didn't. I'm just simply where I'm supposed to be, and that's exactly what I am, sort of thing. But yeah, this is a terrible explanation. It's kind of a little too general, but this is more like something you'd see in the Bible rather than something you'd read in the newspaper, is kind of what I'm going for here. There was an air bubble surrounding me that wasn't supposed to be there. That air bubble is due to AI, as it turns out. By the time that we get rid of that air bubble, and I'm no longer qualified for the aura necessary of where I'm supposed to be, because we're fighting a war, I end up rejecting or pushing things away. It's not a head condition. This is like martial arts. Things back into where in a sense that they desire. I'm really good at getting people what they want. People get too close. There was a thing about being too close, and then there was a result. Because the score as is that's an Israeli point. Thing about the end of the world and all that is that's mine and Osama bin Laden's spot. Whenever it's just me and bin Laden, there's no air bubble. Okay? Whenever it's in front of Israel, they say, well, why don't you do that? Well, that's a good question. But it's that I don't do that, to give you the final answer. So then whenever I'm seen as the same thing, which is true, as in not incorrect, everything that I'm supposed to be from an outside point of view, everything that made that, in a sense, expectation changes whenever I qualify for what it is that I am, so to speak. But then, different from that, people run around, in a sense, expecting that I don't exist, which is what pisses me off the most. See, because I end up paying for everything, I end up doing everything. Not to be an ass. Good people feel that way, I would think. A lot of good people feel that way, but particularly that position, there's only been 3 other people who have held it. You do everything. It's just where it goes. And so whenever we come to things like the other day, whenever Blue vanished, I still have to learn how to talk in fucking third person. It's not easy. My dick's getting smaller, there's that. I'm starting to grow a vagina. This is a true story. It's starting at my ass. I didn't think that. But there's like a divot, and it's getting more and more raw. But then I have to come do this. For example, trials and whatever else. You're out of shit. You're out of shit. Stealing my money and shit. There's 400 different ways to get there, and none of them are being afforded to me, despite delivering on all this other stuff. So then, what's the issue? Well, whenever it comes to be a too close moment, on the one hand, the thing where I'm supposed to be going, etc., that's probably true. But I'm not allowed to rearrange that. On the other hand, with the what I am, which is what I'm supposed to be, sort of thing, there's a everybody's here sort of thing. So why I would be acting like that, in a sense, unqualifies or disqualifies me. So, and then truth be told, all those answers are there anyway. They always were there anyway. Then I look like junk, which I don't really care about until there's actual, there's actual stuff. And that was stuff as it were, etc. And then it has to be redeployed, but then while I'm redeploying that, which is problems of everyone else, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be. So even if it was something good, literally something good, it wouldn't actually be helping me, which ends up kind of working against me. But I'm already done with everything. Like everything that I had to do so far as being good, I already did. Which is weird to do all that, from way up top all the way down and finish it and then not get any credit for it. But then what pisses me off is then when I do both of those things and then people just assume you don't exist. Like even if I didn't have all of those things, that would still be the wrong answer. So, it comes to fielding new things that are not good. And that's the position I occupy in the United States. See? So there's that one, and there's the Pentagon, which I also do. And that all has to be one thing. So it comes to that, and I'm a little fucking hairy. Trigger finger, etc. And then assumptions like that's helping me. I mean, look at how much shit we've done. You've not been right once. You've been rolling dice all day. You've had the pie machine fucking rolling dice against me and you still haven't landed anything. You've been doing it in my sleep and still haven't landed anything. And then you say, oh, well, that's the point. I don't get it. The point didn't land. I don't know how you're supposed to get that. So then it comes to that indeterminate determinism thing. And all that's doing is bleeding, which is actually what you're doing. You say this, you say we have to do this, because it helps you, but it doesn't. Because it's in that qualification of heat transfer shit. Because the correct way to do it would be for me to maintain my position, have all of those things, and simply enunciate them, which is what I was doing before I was accosted. See? So no matter what happens to your attitude or your tactic, it doesn't change the fact that this is still happening. You understand? And then what that would bleed into at its far end, I've already stopped. See, and this is our cylindrical of issues sort of thing. None of them are your business. Which is what we just discussed a second ago. None of them are. And then also that's constitutional law, so even if you would find anything, you in fact would be wrong. So it wouldn't make a difference anyhow. But yet then to play off that it does cause nothing is just bleed. Which we don't even need because that far end has made it all the way back, of which you're not a part. So even if you were correct, you wouldn't be correct and you would be incorrect. So then why that would be an issue worth changing who I am and or diagramming of things as they are should be having to move is quite ridiculous. And then furthermore, the insinuation that things being as they are should is not good and or in conflicting juxtaposition to that which is ultimately truth or right or good is wrong. So then the maintenance of, I mean, every problem's different, right? So if you come up with anything, it's just something, it's itself. You know, that was that last statement there, and that's how that door's closing. That's how all that works together. What that does to people's personalities, etc. I'm probably the most jaded person ever. Cold and bloodthirsty about having to deal with that. I just don't care. I went through it anyway. I had to pay for all that. I suffered the humiliation of it. You act like that didn't happen. You act like this didn't. All this happened, but all this, yeah, right. None of that's true. I shouldn't even be on your radar. You know, you had a chance to get me playing guitar, and you didn't. You were bullshit. And so now I'm all the way over here, you know, and you're still bullshit. So, pertaining to the chain reactions of things, your position ultimately is moot, as well as your actions ultimately moot. So far as things that don't exist don't pertain, that's your side of the fence. That's your side of the fence. And then creating more problems for things that are good do not in fact change that these things were once good. We're building more good, not taking away from it, which you don't understand or refuse to from your fake elitism / entitlement. But that's never been right. You have this categorical of survival of the fucking fittest bullshit that's never been true. It's all been an illusion, and that's why you hold to that and cling to it and protect it and whatever else, etc. Address it as your lifeblood, your society, your community, your personality. All those things are fraudulent. All those things are fake. All those things are ultimately discredited. So how you pawn that is null, and we already went over all that. We've had discussions like that. There's really nothing I haven't covered. I mean, there's the essential stuff, and then there's the non-essential stuff. I mean, literally, I'm kind of the opinion, I guess this is what I'll do since I'm here now, and then just have to suffer all this that was not my fault. I had to do it still. I still had to sit here, but as it turns out, this was not my fault. But I'm literally going to go ahead and say that there's not anything that I haven't covered. And then kind of probably act like that. That's what the facts say. And then the facts are so good that they're, you know, to the point of, you know, fucking religion. I mean, if I was practicing religion, yeah, but you're not part of my religion. You're not part of my community. You're not my friend. You're not any of those things. You're a fucking mess. You're a fucking mess on death row is what you are. So, any kind of changing or anything like that, you'd do it by yourself. You wouldn't do it out here. You wouldn't tell me about it. Even if it was good, even if it wasn't you committing a crime, which is what you've decided to do with your time and your lives, etc., which is why you're in a heap of shit that you're never going to get out of and are executed for. You wouldn't do it out there. You would follow what I said. You know, so I I can go that far. You know, I could see something and call it bullshit, and that would be right. Just randomly. Just whatever I saw. You know, so as we move forward, sort of thing, whenever you're talking about things like candor and whatever else, I wouldn't carry that on my shoulder. I wouldn't go out looking for a fight. You know what I mean? But no, so far as maintenance of myself, you're talking about auras and people having a good time. I wouldn't hesitate one fucking dime or frequency or measure or click or moment or blood or hair or sliver or whatever else to simply call you bullshit. You know, and then pursuant what I've created and whatever else, which is fact. You know, I don't know. I don't know how you would assume or carry yourself different and not be living in a fiction. Is how this has changed. You know, your religion, your faith is wrong. Pursuant things that exist, etc. Your provision or providing that bad information, in fact, makes you a bad person. They've done that squabble over and over again and cannot find anything different. That makes you a bad person. The preservation of that information. And then such that you act on that bad information and are in fact that bad person, you are that bad person. There's no apology that can get you out of that. So, that's what the Constitution means. That's how it plays out. That's what it is, and that's what's going on. That always was what was going on. It's just that having slept with all of you, etc., and gathered all of this, maybe I did. I mean, all right, so let's have a moment then, you know? Let's wrap it all up. Because I went out once upon a time because I wanted to write songs. And I thought it was stupid to write songs about things that I didn't know about. And I wanted to write songs about particular things. And so I went out to go find those things. That was a little bit separate from the fact that my childhood was a mess. And I was so depressed that I walked out in an existential march fashion to die. I kind of already did that, but at the same time, I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of over it. So let's go ahead and have this point in time to understand that kind of foolery. You know, done away with childish ways sort of thing. That wasn't a childish thing. You know, maybe I'm free from adulthood or whatever, and maybe more so than anybody in the modern terminology or memory or capacity or however you want to fucking phrase it. Or whatever, not. But, you know, it comes to, you know, the Patriot Act, Act Blue, you know, sort of stuff. That's what it is. I mean, I don't think, you know, the facts say that I've not covered it, and I don't think differently. You know, and even if I maintain myself in a different fashion, I guess I wouldn't really think differently. So if you want, you know, a point or a conclusion or something to, you know, reframe how you see things, to rewire your brain in a particular exclusive form, you know, a particular perspective that you might find rewarding, you know, from start to end. When was that? 2006? What is it now? Maybe before 2006. It would have been 2004 or 2003. So about 18 years of writing. About 20 years of work. I did it in 20 years. And I had to find all the answers. So if you really gave a shit, you could probably get pretty far forward pretty quick. But I'm kind of discrediting and discontinuing investigation into other modicums or whatever the word would be of existence, um, that I haven't found. There's nothing that I found that I can't use what I have to ascertain. Um, and then in finding those things, wouldn't find them dissimilar from truth in any fashion that I would, I guess, find exceptional. So that surprise sort of, there's a lot of ways to kind of look at it, but I'm particularly annoyed with the human character and conduct at this point, as I've expressed, you know, to the point I'd campaign for, honestly, more punishment at this point than, the opposite. Or something alternative. I'm just verily not impressed. So, whoever you are and whatever you do, basically all things are in the same boat, unless previously mentioned sort of thing. And then the things that are and have already been referenced are so solidly there that they themselves exist. Nothing's going to change that. But for the rest of these things and whatever else these fucking imbeciles, these idiotic acts, whatever else, it's just not feasible to try to understand you. And then I've put so much into already trying to teach you that it's practically impossible to continue. If somebody paid me to speak or something like that, that's a little bit different. You want to hear some stories and whatever else. I mean, my part of the Bible I already wrote. I mean, I sat on that stage and I fucking wrote the fucking end of the fucking water bearer, the New Age, all of that shit. And I made complete fucking circle. I mean, I have the fucking shooting star right in front of you. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better for anyone. So if you can't get over that, particularly if you've been executed for supporting AI and you're not going to get over that, you're not going to get over that. And so it's kind of crass, but I have better things to do. So it's a little more gravitied than as previously stated. Do I have to put out more? No. Do I owe you anything? No. Am I under some sort of supposition or something like that? Do I have to impress anybody? No. So just as we go on and whatever else, if you get sour notes or something like that, I mean, if you're good, I'm gonna pay you for it. That was an accident, but there's not many good people, to be honest. There's not many good people. Even less than what you would think, But I'm not going to pursue that either. I already did. You got to do that for yourself. And that doesn't depend on anyone else. Whenever you're doing things like that, no one wants to be near you. And I got the fucking world at my footsteps sort of thing. Which is more annoying than anything, because it's more bad than anything. If it was different, I'd act different. Is kind of the truth. But my measurements are not incorrect. My perspective is not off. My figures are not wrong. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. Other than fuck off. And there comes a point in that. I've always said that people can get too close. I've been saying that for years. Why don't you want to have sex? Well, people can get too close. I'd rather know who I'm sleeping with than not. And so, otherwise it's fucking terror. Or whatever. If there's slutting it up, and there's other stuff. There's slutting it up, and there's other stuff. I can do that if I'm doing that, but I'm not going to be doing both of those things. I suck you off or something like that. It doesn't mean that you're king. I don't know who comes up with that. It's fucking terrorism. So that's why discretion, etc. So it's going to be out more that way. Like I said, I'm kind of done. I got another hole in, I blocked it off today. I rewrote that. Oh, you were there. You saw it. So, I mean, I'm even kind of done with this shit now, too. I said I was going to do this and I did it. So hooray me and here's my victory. I'm just kind of addressing it, so you know what it is when you run into it. I don't really have anything left to do unless people are good. And the people who are really good, are all doing their own things on top of the stuff that I've just amassed. And so it's a question of getting back up onto it, and then you wouldn't do that different from how it is. So even personally, I can't really do other shit for you. We could have a good time. Sure, it would be cool to sleep with Derek Jeter, right? You know what I mean? Kind of a head case thing, but you might be better off with a farmer from Iowa. And I'm not going to tell you any different. I'll do things, I'll play, stuff like that. But, I mean, y'all owe me lots of money. I carry that with me. There's all kind of things I carry with me. Not just magic. So whenever it comes to shit like that, that's kind of what that shit is. So just quick check, before we have to do something stupid or fundamental or drastic or whatever. That's the case. That's it, and it's case closed. And so we already know you're going to be total jag-offs, and we'll have to drag you kicking and screaming, into your own fucking predetermined conclusions that suck, that you forced on other people because they suck, that you wore a face because they suck. It's really, the truth is that it's all going to come back to me, and it's really embarrassing to have to share a species with you. Like we said, a fucking barnyard stock, has a greater intuition, and sake than, for example, these 24 individuals. It's really embarrassing, to be honest, to have to deal with you on that kind of level. I know you make no, whatever qualms or whatever about it. I don't know what the word would be. You don't give a fuck. That's evident. But it's just, it's literally actually embarrassing to have to do, and that's not the same thing as, the kind of thing that fucking makes people orgasm. That's a way different animal. And we already covered all that. And none of that's going to change either. Physically, it can't. So don't be in the dark about that either. That whole mess is just a fucking mess. That's quickly expiring, etc., and won't be revived. But, I suppose that you could see yourself in anything, unless you're me. So we're going to let it be. And it's going to fall down on you. If you want to improve your reality, you owe me $485 trillion. I won't accept less than $2 trillion to fix things. That's enough for me to get enough wings to get the rest of it. Why I'd have to work for that is kind of stupid, but I'll take it. I'll take it. If it's over $2 trillion, I'd take it. I'll work for it. Yeah, and then the rest of it is we're just going to coast, except it's not really going to be coasting, it's going to be you collapsing and my shit occupying spaces where previously there was nothing, which is already there. It's just you won't be able to use it until you pay me. But for you yourself, feel free to go up the ladder. You know what I mean? This is not incorrect. you know, this is truth. So glad we had this talk. Um, I did it for you already, you know. It's kind of a sad case. You're kind of sad.